On today's episode of the Critical Hour, Drive, Wilmer Leon is joined by Caleb Maupin, journalist and political analyst who focuses his coverage on U.S. foreign policy and the global system of monopoly capitalism and imperialism, and Jon Jeter, author and two-time Pulitzer Prize finalist with more than 20 years of journalistic experience. It's Friday, so that means it's panel time. The McConnell and Schumer on Monday appeared deadlocked on the key questions surrounding the trial more than a week after Minority Leader Schumer made his opening bid. The stalemate raises the prospect of a partisan set of rules for the trial, which would be a black eye for a chamber that kicked off former President Bill Clinton's impeachment trial with a unanimous vote. Is this American political kabuki theater? Sen. Bernie Sanders' recent surge in national and early state polls, enthusiastic progressive base, and resilience in the aftermath of his heart attack have reportedly forced someone in the Democratic establishment who were previously dismissive of the Vermont senator to concede, both in private and in public, that he could ultimately run away with the party's presidential nomination. This while Bernie blackout strikes again. Despite Iowa poll average showing Sanders in solid second, CNN uses old poll to show him in fourth. Are the Dems trying to set us up for another 2016 election fraud? 5 historians recently wrote to the New York Times Magazine, asking the architects of its comprehensive 1619 project, which tells the founding narrative of America through the lens of slavery, to issue several corrections. They argued that assertions in the 1619 package about the motivations that sparked the Revolutionary War and President Abraham Lincoln's views on black equality were misleading. The 1619 argues that the American narrative, long recycled and widely shared in classrooms and history books, is not the full story. The 1619 Project, according to the Times, aims to reframe the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of black Americans at the very center of our national narrative. I perceive this to be the greater interest in continuing to perpetuate American mythologies of manifest destiny, American exceptionalism and white man's burden. In March 2017, MSNBC host Rachel Maddow invited Representative Adam B. Schiff D-Caliph onto her show to talk Russia. She noted that in a House hearing, Schiff had cited the 35-page dossier of memorandums compiled by former British intelligence officer Christopher Steele. Ever since that document had burst into national politics, and surfaced on the BuzzFeed website in January 2017, Maddow had closely monitored its reception. Over a nearly 2-year investigation released on Deck 9, Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz and a team of investigators reviewed at least 1 million records, interviewed more than 100 individuals and otherwise probed the actions of the FBI and the Justice Department in the Russia investigation. He determined that much of the material in the Steele election reports could not be corroborated, that certain allegations were inaccurate or inconsistent with information gathered by the Crossfire Hurricane team, and that the limited information that was corroborated related to time, location and title information, much of which was publicly available. With that, the dossier ceased performing its role as a central character on The Rachel Maddow Show. Saudi Arabia on Monday sentenced 5 people to death and 3 to jail over the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, but a UN investigator accused it of making a mockery of justice by allowing the masterminds of last year's killing to go free. A Saudi court rejected the findings of a UN inquiry by ruling that the killing was not premeditated, but carried out at the spur of the moment. Saudi Deputy Public Prosecutor and spokesman Shalon al-Shalon said the court dismissed charges against 3 of the 11 people tried, finding them not guilty. U.S. military cyber officials are developing information warfare tactics that could be deployed against senior Russian officials and oligarchs if Moscow tries to interfere in the 2020 U.S. elections through hacking election systems or sowing widespread discord, according to current and former U.S. officials. How long will they continue to run with this story? We'll have all these stories and more. Guests: Caleb Maupin, journalist and political analyst who focuses his coverage on U.S. foreign policy and the global system of monopoly capitalism and imperialism. Jon Jeter, author and two-time Pulitzer Prize finalist with more than 20 years of journalistic experience. He is a former Washington Post bureau chief and award-winning foreign correspondent. Linwood Tauheed, associate professor of economics at the University of the Missouri Kansas City. David Schultz, professor of political science at Hamline University. We'd love to get your feedback at radio@sputniknews.com. Let's block ads.